Hi, I'm Roxanne from Pancake and Waffles, and today we're going to make waffles a new color and a leash. This is going to be the turquoise. It is the reflective on it. This one has a neoprene backing to it, so it's a nice solid snap color. And then also our leash is actually dual-sided with the reflective material. We're going to do white on this one, so we'll get started on this so we can see how it looks. So if you don't mind, what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about my story from this week. And yesterday I ran into a former employee of ours, and I hadn't seen her in about a year and a half. And, it was kind of awesome. She looked great and different at the same time. Just older. I had about a crew of about 30 that I used to supervise, but she just looked like she was more herself. And she was talking about her plans for college coming up, and it really hit me. Up until about your mid 20s, change is totally normal, and you're supposed to evolve like everyone around you is changing at the same time. But then after that, change becomes this solo sport. And I just wanted to kind of talk about that for a little bit. Now, as I'm making this collar here, you can see I just used the highlighter, and that's to mark the different areas of where the stitching is going to go. And I measured it to get to Waffle's 18.5-inch neck. But the fun part about this whole thing when I ran into this gal and I discovered this is, what a crazy thing. Because when you're young, you're choosing between path A, B, C, you seem like you've got all of these options available to you. And whichever one you pick, you're surrounded by people who are going through the same process as you, just right alongside you. But then later on, it gets different. And by different, I mean, it's kind of like a water balloon that's on a dartboard, and eventually somebody gets the dart into the balloon and splatters all sorts of water everywhere. It's the same thing. Everybody just splatters and they go their own ways, and your paths narrow. And suddenly, because you didn't pick path C, you are no longer able to do it. Does this make sense to you? Like, you have clearly chosen A, B, and C, and you're going on B, and you're like, oh man, C might have been a lot cooler. Yeah, it's no longer available. It's like freeze tag. Everyone seems to be stuck in place, and you don't even remember when you stopped moving. And that kind of thought, it's very deep, deep thoughts here, but it's like a dog collar. You were meant to switch it out after the holidays. All of a sudden it's mid-January. Or worse. It's like the Christmas wreath you put up on the side of your garage, and all's great until all of a sudden it's August. You see it again. You're like, oh my gosh, how long has that been up there? And it's brittle, and it's kind of falling apart, and all of a sudden it's in the sun, and one day it just catches on fire. It's a great metaphor for life, isn't it? All of a sudden you're there, and your whole life just like, wow, it is like a Christmas wreath that has dried out in August. But the real simple truth is that not one single decision put you where you are right now. It is a series. It was the thousands of small, reasonable decisions that you made, the ones we make every single day, that brought you where you're at right now. And so you sit there and you're like, yeah, but what do you do when your life no longer fits? You don't want to be the Christmas wreath in August on the side of the garage that's in the sun, right? So really, before you change anything, you've got to name what doesn't fit anymore. And it's not your whole life. No. It's just something that doesn't feel right. Figure out what that thing is. It could be a schedule, your expectations, some version of yourself that you've simply outgrown. You don't need a new identity, but you do need some honesty, right? You need to really get with yourself and kind of figure out what it is that's not working. And again, it's not everything, but it's something. The other thing you can do too, like action number 2, would be to make a small swap. Not big exit, just a small one. So, when you're looking at the dog collar, it's not that you gotta throw away the dog. but you just need to adjust the collar, right? So you don't have to sit here and be like, oh, I need a new dog. I mean, you might want one, right? Just kidding. Your dog's probably great. But there are days where they get annoying, but you love them. But you just need to get a different color. So your change does not have to be dramatic to be real. You know, maybe it's just a new boundary, different type of conversation, you know, one small experiment. All of those just small swaps start to restore that circulation in your life. And it's, you know, people will say that just one small step. Well, it is. One little teeny thing can start to get you momentum in the other way. And then stop waiting for permission. You know, after a certain age, you know, no one taps you on the shoulder and says, now it's your turn. You know, you don't get a syllabus for reinvention. You know, if it doesn't fit anymore, that's your permission right there. It doesn't get any easier than that. You're not behind. You're not overdue for an adjustment. Nothing's wrong. It just doesn't fit anymore. So you don't need a whole new life. You just need something, some aspect of it that fits. And, you know, that's kind of what the collars do too. I mean, you know, look what I'm doing here. This is going to get really good. I got to the point where I'm like, I just threw the collar on the leash on the picture. It was kind of fun, but that's it. You know, your collar action kind of mirrors your life. You just take action, name it, figure out what it is, and go for it. You can have something, you know, brand new action will bring another one, and you get the momentum going, snowballing, and pretty soon you're on a way to feeling a little bit more satisfied. So we'll keep watching this one right here. It gets really funny. Look at how awful my leash is. And I'm like, boom, done. All right, guys, you know, thanks for watching. This is what the leashes look like when you have a flash on them, because they are the reflective on them. So talk to you later.